Hi, welcome back to Bluebean's Not So Daily Exposing Our Classmates. I'm Neo, and today I'm going to talk about a guy we'll call Alexander. He was in my 8th grade class, and honestly, that guy was something else. That crusty, musty, dusty dude was the most hated kid in class. Nobody could stand his attitude. He was a walking storm of drama, always causing problems. He had this ridiculous haircut he thought made him look cool, but it just made him look chopped. And his outfits? Brew. We didn't have school uniforms, so everyone had their own style, but Alexander took that to another level. Imagine seeing someone with a red cap, bright green socks, and a random graphic tee that didn't match anything. Bro really thought he was setting trends. There was a small group of us who really couldn't stand him. Axel, Elio, and Ivan. Elio had repeated 8th grade, so he was older than the rest of us. He didn't like Alexander, but somehow Alexander decided Elio was his best friend. One day, I was hanging out with Elio near the basketball court when Alexander walked up to us all proud and said,
"From now on, you call me Alex."
But there's already a guy named Alex in our class.
"Yeah, but I'm the original, so it's Alex now."
When he walked off to play, Elio just looked at me and said that Alexander is a stupid aw. A few days later, we were in biology. I was sitting next to my friend Liv, and our biology teacher was teaching as usual. Liv and I were whispering, and Alexander was chatting loudly with a boy. Our teacher was explaining the renal system. He said, "The only time your pee is red is if there's blood in it, or if you're on your period." Then Alexander raised his hand and said,
"But sir, my pee is often green, orange, or brown, so am I special?"
The entire class went silent. I was just sitting there thinking, what in the actual world did I just hear? His biology partner, trying to make it less weird, said, "Red, orange, yellow, green. Bro, you're peeing a rainbow." But Alexander doubled down and said,
"I'm not lying. You want to see? Girls, do you want to see? Elio, you're in obviously."
I was disgusted. I looked at my bestie, and she had the same face. For context, Elio has really long hair, so at the start of the year everyone thought he was a girl. Because of that, Alexander often teased him, and thinking that this dirty guy used to sit next to me at the beginning of the year, I still shudder. He even tried to copy my handwriting. Anyways, the teacher tried to keep the lesson going, but Alexander wouldn't stop talking. Finally, he shut him down and continued teaching. And as if he hadn't embarrassed himself enough, later that day Alexander ran down the hallway screaming proudly,
"I'm peeing rainbows."
So, my friends and I have this thing we like to do. We scream in random corridors and then dash off before anyone catches us. It's stupid, sure, but it's fun. The only problem was that some of my friends got banned from certain areas of the school, so we were running out of places to do it. One day, we were in the lunch hall when Benjamin decided he wanted to grab something to eat. Carly and I followed him, but before we could even get to the food line, Mr. Not-So-Sunshine stopped me. I thought I was in trouble again, so I rolled my eyes and braced myself. Instead, he just said, "Make sure they aren't messing around, they're banned from certain areas." In my head, I was like, "Isn't that literally your job?" But I just nodded and walked off. When we were about to leave, he pulled me aside again and told me that I should lead the group. Excuse me, there's no such thing as a leader in my friend group, you old maggot. A few days later, Carly, Benjamin, and I were in the Western Wing, minding our own business kind of, when Mr. Not-So-Sunshine spotted us. Again, I swear that man has radar. I turn around, and suddenly he's just there like 2 meters away. He says, "Come closer." So I take the tiniest step possible. Instead of coming to me, he steps closer himself and goes, "I thought you were leading them." I panic and blurt out, I was leading them to the playground." He says, "Why?" And I say, "Because that's where the 9th graders are supposed to be," pretending like he doesn't already know that. Then he points to the staircase next to him and says, "Go down these stairs." I reply, "I'm gonna take the other stairs where my friends went." He says, "No, you can go down these stairs." While he's distracted calling over one of the boys who've been misbehaving, I take my chance and ditch him. I find Carly and Benjamin and tell them everything. Carly just shakes her head and says, next time he calls you aside, I'm gonna tell him I don't have a leader, I lead myself. Then she screamed downstairs in the corridor right after saying that, and the three of us sprinted outside laughing like maniacs. The next day, our friend Caitlin joined us. Carly wanted to scream right by Mr. Sunshine's classroom. We were downstairs by the outside door, and he was upstairs. He didn't even see us, but out of nowhere, he called our names. Benjamin just stared in disbelief. How did he even hear us? But Carly and I were already halfway down the hall. Running for our lives, Carly yelled, Mr. Sunshine, one last time before we burst out laughing. Caitlin was completely lost, asking why we were running. Benjamin just said, just run. So we did. We ran as far as we could so he couldn't stop us. The day after that, we all screamed in unison on the school bridge. The echo was marvelous. A group of boys yelled at us to shush. But we just laughed it off because honestly, we're low-key just built like that. Then the next day in science class, my lab partner, Omar, who, by the way, was one of the boys who told us to shush, turned to me and said, why were your friends screaming in the corridors? Are you guys, like, special? I smirked and said, imagine screaming. I'd never do that. He replied, shut up. I leaned closer saying, he said, I said, shut up. I repeated, pretending I couldn't hear him. He groaned, you know what? Forget it. I smiled sweetly. Good. Now, I wouldn't say Omar is bad at chemistry, but let's just say he copies my work a little too often. Whenever he copies the wrong answer, he blames me, like it's all your fault. So one day, after he messed up again, I said, next time don't copy in it. He just muttered, whatever. Then when he tried to copy my work again, I shut my book right in front of him. He looked at me surprised, saying, you can't do that. I gasped dramatically, saying, aw, is Omar sad he can't get the work done? I even pretended to wipe away a fake tear. He gave me the biggest side eye. Then, Buddy had the audacity to grab my pencil case just so he could use my glue stick to stick his worksheet in. I snatched it right back and said, where's your manners, bro? He sighed. Can I have the glue, please? I smiled and handed it to him. He gave me an even more annoyed face. While he was busy gluing in his sheet, I quickly opened my book and finished my work. But the second he looked over to peek at it again, I slammed it shut. Omar glared at me. I'm giving you one more chance. So, obviously, I mimicked him. I'm giving you one more chance in the exact same tone. He grabbed my book and leaned over his chair at an angle I couldn't reach. I yelled, bro, give it back, reaching for it. But then I felt like a pick-me for trying to reach for it, so I sat back down. But when he lowered his arm for a second, I snatched it right back. He'll be fair, though. During our actual chemistry lessons, the proper calculator-based ones, I can't be bothered to do half the math, so I just copy off him. Now we're even. Hey, my awesome blue stars, thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video. Make sure to like the video and subscribe if you haven't already. Make sure to comment with blue hearts if you've reached this far, and also mention whose story was your favorite. Peace out, my awesome blue stars. Bye.